What's up, everybody? My name's Nukinfutz because I'm effing nuts. I'm here to talk to you guys about everyone's favorite thing, especially as a demo lock, loot. ICC hype is very high right now, and I figured I'd try my hand at explaining the upcoming BIS List. Huge shout out to the Warlock Discord and Zephin for hosting a simulation competition, as well as my good friend Amoral for spending hours simming setups and helping me with this video. I will be covering both the Horde and Alliance support BIS setups and even the personal DPS setups. I highly recommend never playing the personal setups unless your guild has 2 Demo Warlocks in the same raid and one is running the support setup. You lose far too much demonic pact points in these setups to be worth the overall raid DPS net loss. As you may have noticed, not a single piece of loot is from TOGC surprisingly. This tier is a major power spike and will change the DPS meta quite a bit, which I'll talk about more in a future video, so watch out for that. Also, the difference between Horde and Alliance support BIS is quite literally 3 hit gems being replaced with Rune Cardinal Rubies instead. So as a result of this, I'll be predominantly showing the Horde setup. Let's get started with the tier pieces. Turns out the 4-piece set bonus is pretty good, so you'll be trying to obtain that as soon as possible. You'll want to run the helmet, the shoulders, the gloves, and the legs, and with your chest being the off-piece sanguine silk robes. What's interesting about this tier is that none of it has any spirit as opposed to the tier pieces we currently have. In a few cases, we actually end up losing some overall spell power, but we gain a bunch of crit and haste to make up for it. Two of our tier pieces have a boatload of hit, being the gloves and the legs. This will be very valuable when we start replacing our old TOGC loot. We are desperately gemming a lot more hit gems than normal, and only 4 pieces in this setup even have hit on them. With this in mind, I would prioritize obtaining the tier legs if you are running into a hit problem. It is a decent upgrade over Seething Touch, but allows you a lot more freedom to deal with your upcoming hit issues. Then, I would prio the gloves next as they are a direct upgrade over your current tier gloves. But, they will break your 4-piece set bonus. If your hit situation is doing well, then I would recommend the helmet at a slight loss of spell power, but a sizable personal DPS increase. And lastly, the shoulders for similar reasoning as the helmet, but it really depends on your current set of gear, so make sure to do your due diligence and sim which tier piece would be the best to get for you. Some close alt BIS options for tier pieces include Corporathar, Ceremonial Crown, in place of Tier Helm, Shoulders of Mercy Killing in place of your shoulders, Gunship Captain's Mittens in place of your hands, and Plaguebringer's Stained Pants in place of your legs. But your caster homies might kill you over the pants if you take them, as they're heavily contested. Moving on for tier finally is the Amulet of the Silent Eulogy. This is one of our 4 hit pieces and is a decent upgrade over Sapphire Amulet of Renewal, and a direct upgrade over Pendant of Fiery Havoc. An alt BIS option would be the Bone Sentinel's Amulet as a non-hit option. Your Resto Druid may hate you for this, but tell him to go worship Malfurion or something. As for your Cloak, this is a very minor upgrade over your TOGC 50 attempt Cloak, still worth picking up, but it is the smallest upgrade in the tier. If you want a hit option in this slot, then you could pick up Lich Wrappings, but it is really not very good. Your chest piece will be the Sanguine Silk Robes. You will lose hit from your tier chest, but you will gain haste instead and a sizable spell power gain. Alt BIS includes Robes of the Waking Nightmare, which has hit like our old tier, but isn't an amazing piece, and Bloodsoul Raiment, which isn't too far behind. For your bracers, you'll be looking for Death Surgeon Sleeves, as a decent upgrade over Bindings of the Ashen Saint. An alt BIS option are the Ladies' Brittle Bracers as a hit piece, and these are pretty good overall. The big boy. Coming in as the biggest upgrade of the tier is Blood Surge, Kel'Thuzad's Blade of Agony. What a beaut. Just over 200 spell power over the TOGC BIS weapons. You'll know your guild truly loves you if they give you this weapon instead of waiting to give you the uncontested alt BIS staff, Arcus. Great staff of Antonidas. Speaking of the staff, Arcus is a very strong alt BIS option and it is only about 60 personal DPS behind the one-hander offhand setup. You should be very happy with this item as well. Other alt BIS pieces for a one-hander include Rigor Mortis and Frozen Bone Spike, which are both very good in their own right. As for the offhanded pair with it, you'll be wanting the Sundial of Eternal Dusk. This will be a fairly uncontested piece and it is a decent upgrade overall. Alt BIS options include a hit option being the Scourge Lord's Baton, and then Shadow Silk Spindle, but you're extremely unlikely to be getting one of these over your other casters. For your wand, you'll be finally replacing your Sprig with a Nightmare Ender. This is a fairly small upgrade, but still nice. An alt BIS option is the Corpse Impaling Spike, but I do not recommend stealing this from other casters. Your belt will be Lingering Illness. What a strange name. This will be a sizable increase over Belt of the Tenebrous Mist. An alt BIS option would be Crushing Cold Wraith Belt, which isn't going to happen over your caster's other dead bodies again. As for your new boots, you'll be gunning for the Plague Scientist boots. Not a bad upgrade over Sandals of the Morning Widow in terms of personal DPS. You will lose some pack for this, but the trade-off is worth it. There is no alt BIS, but if you do not have Sandals of the Morning Widow, then pick up some Sandals of Consecration from a tailor. Moving on to your rings now. Something to note about the Ashen Band is that it will be upgraded via the ICC reputation, the Ashen Verdict. You can do trash runs to increase your reputation, and this will take quite a few hours, but is doable within a solid day of runs. The Revered version is quite good, and can immediately replace Conductive Seal. But definitely farm out the Exalted version ASAP by slaving away all day doing trash runs. The other ring you want is Memory of Malagos, a sizable upgrade over Lurid Manifestation. Some solid alt BIS options are Ring of Maddening Whispers. A hit alternative would be Valinar's other Signet Ring, which you'll have to fight a Space Stricken for. Last but not least, these amazing trinkets. Try not to drool over them too much though. Phylactery of the Nameless Lich should definitely be prior to you, as it is a massive increase over Dying Curse or Flare. DFO is a bit more tricky though. I would recommend taking DFO if you're replacing Dying Curse with it, but if you already have Phylactery and are replacing Flare, then it seems to be better to give DFO to a different caster in your raid, such as a Deflection Lock. This is due to your average pack suffering a bit for an increase in personal DPS, but it really isn't a lot. This is one of the rare instances where I would suggest not prioritizing Demo for every BIS piece. The biggest upgrades in this tier compared to last year are without a doubt Blood Surge or Arcus, and Phylactery. DFO if you're replacing Dying Curse is still very good, followed by Ashen Band, Sanguine Silk Robes, and Amulet of the Silent Eulogy, to round out a sorta top 5 with those caveats. Now let's move on to the personal DPS setups. As you can see, there are a few pieces being changed, namely the belt, legs, and chest. The other pieces are more minor differences. This setup will gain about 170 personal DPS at the cost of nearly 33 demonic pact overall. Again, I do not suggest running these builds unless you have another demo running support in the raid. You should definitely go Affliction instead of this, but that's just my 2 cents. Again, the Horde and Alliance setups are virtually the same, outside of these 2 hit gems being replaced with Reckless gems. But I believe that just about covers everything. Thank you all very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe or like the video. Stay tuned for more ICC content and big parses, and don't forget to keep pumping and being Nukinfutz.